Welcome to Armchair Expert. I'm Dan Shepard, and I'm joined by Lily Padman. Hi. It's a very, 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 most very, very special day of my life today on this Monday because I get to talk to my boyhood idol.
Oh, it was so special getting to be a part of that. You guys should listen to the fact check because we're going to really debrief on your feelings.
Anyone who's ever listened to the show knows that Letterman for me
is
the North Star. And all I ever wanted to do was just be on a show. That was it. That was why I wanted to be in show business.
Exactly. And I mean, we've had so many incredible guests come through, and that's their North Star. Like, he is ubiquitous for people who are in comedy.
Any comedian of my age will most likely say Bill Murray and David Letterman are it. Those two designed a comedic paradigm that we're still kind of living in. There's this irreverent take on everything that's just, it's trickled down.
I mean,
he's
a god. There's no getting around it.
Yes. So that's precursory knowledge. So he arrives at the house and he gets out of the car. And the very first thing he does is he looks around him. He really takes in the scene and he looks to the garage that's being built in my yard. And first thing he does is he walks into the garage. There's 6 guys having lunch. And he goes, guys, great work. Everyone's free for the rest of the day. You can all go home. And
oh my God.
They're in a garage eating lunch.
Yeah.
And David Letterman walks in and tells them that they can all knock off for the rest of the day.
The coolest.
And I'm just watching this whole thing out the window, and it was so amusing to me. And I thought, that's the dream.
He's a dream.
He's a dream.
Yeah.
The playfulness, the comfort level in his own body to give people that little interaction, but enjoy it himself. When that was the first thing I saw, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be the most lovely. Yes. Yeah. This is going to be lovely.
Yeah, it was very special.
He is promoting something that is actually fucking terrific. It's called Bono The Edge, a sort of homecoming with Dave Letterman. Dave goes to Dublin and does a documentary with U2, and it's incredibly interesting. And if you even have a mild interest in U2, you'll be reminded of how brilliant that band was, especially in the early days.
It's a really good doc. I had it on before I came for the interview, and I didn't get to finish, and I wanted to stay and keep watching. It's really good.
It's so good. And the story behind the band's so much better than I knew. And Dave is he's Dave in it, man.
Dave.
He's perfect.
I wore makeup for him.
You wore makeup, and I wore a velvet jumpsuit for him. And that was kind of to give him something to make fun of me for, but he didn't do it.
He didn't take it.
He didn't take it. I was trying to hand him a layup. I was trying to get an assist. I was handing him a layup. Please enjoy my hero, David Letterman.
He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert.
Hi! Oh my God, you look wonderful.
I wore makeup today.
Oh my God, it worked. You look great.
Hi. That's Rob again?
Rob again. I'm Monica.
I'm Dave, Monica.
Nice
Pleasure to meet you. Thank you.
Tom.
Hi,
nice
Tom.
to meet you. Thanks for having us.
How was the little ride over?
We had a nice little ride over. We stopped at the Grove.
Well, listen to this.
That's a nice ride.
I love the Grove.
That's the definition of a nice ride over.
That's right.
Tell them the impossible thing that happened.
We are at the Grove looking for sneakers, and we run into Craig Ferguson.
No, what?
And then Kimmel was working the register.
Oh my God, what a great day for people at the Grove.
Oh my God, yeah, they must have thought they were filming something.
In a sim. Living in that
It
simulation.
confirmed the simulation for a lot of people.
I love this place. Monica's right. This is magic. You should get this.
As you can see, I tore up these walls myself, and then I just said, I'll just put some tape over the gaps. And
He wants to make it fancy, and I really don't.
I just want to put a door on the bathroom.
Why don't we all stop talking until we begin?
Yeah, that's a good move. Good move.
That's the difference between TV and podcast.
I guess so.
We're probably already rolling.
Yeah, our ABR.
ABR.
Our ABR.
Okay, I sit right here.
Yep. I sat in that and pulled it out and hoped your head wouldn't hit. And oh my God, I think I nailed it.
Oh, you tested it?
Yes,
Stress
I remember I was so stressed. And then I thought,
Thank you.
fucking Dave's tall.
Oh, these aren't readers. Oh, these readers. Yeah. Well, unless there's material, contracts to look over and such.
I'd love to pass you my notes and just have you tell me what you think of the research.
Thank you very much.
Did you surrender to readers late?
Well, here's the thing. And is this going to be on the show? Because if it's not, I'm not going to tell you.
Everything. We're recording. We're recording. I'm hot off of a diagnosis yesterday. I finally surrendered and got a prescription literally 20 hours ago. So today's the first day I admit I have readers.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, here's what happened. You get floaters, and nobody knows what they are.
Yeah.
They're a viscous matter that floats around. And when they first occurred to me, I started naming them like stars and constellations. I would recognize them. And then the floaters turned into cataracts.
Oh.
So I was having trouble in low light. So the optometrist, Dr. Harmon, says, we can do this. We'll do one eye. We'll do the other eye. Bang, zoom, congratulations. So I go in for the briefing, and he says, now, for a little extra money, we can give you the distance vision on the top half, and we can give you the close-up reader on the bottom half. And I said to myself, well, that will never work. What he's describing here is something impossible.
Yes.
I don't trust that technology. Let's just clean up the vision. And he says, yeah, you'll be Chuck Yeager with the vision we get with the regular. And I said, fine. So what Dr. Harmon and others don't tell you is that say goodbye to being able to read anything without the reading glasses. But I do. I have a 20/20. I can see and identify birds out this window if you like.
Wow.
I would love that.
Well, not right now.
Feel
It is
free
an
in the
odd-
middle to just call out what bird you're seeing.
Well, especially if you
Okay.
see something that's
Oh,
rare.
look, there's an immature golden.
How long ago was that procedure?
Spring of last year, fall of last year, I don't recall. And it was fantastic because they give you need to be relaxed. And it's a combination of Versed and propofol.
That's the combo.
Oh no, Dax is.
Maybe I
excited.
shouldn't bring this up, right?
No. Listen. I have a whole system. When I get surgery, I start charming the anesthesiologist and I say, listen, I know the order. You give the Versed to calm me down and then you hit me with the propofol. The propofol is not enjoyable. You're gone. I said, can we extend that window of calming me down? Let's get that in me
Right.
5 or 10 minutes before we head over to the theater. They don't go for that, but that's always my pitch to them. But that's
You're having your surgery done in a theater?
yes, in the operating theater.
Is this a Netflix deal?
yes.
I will agree with you, but I'm sorry I even brought it up because
Why?
I think
Because you know I'm an addict?
yes.
Well, look, I might tell some stories about drinking. We're both alcoholics,
Yes,
right?
I was addicted to alcohol. Okay,
It's
enough
his
of that.
favorite subject. It's all he wants
Oh,
to
is
talk
it
about.
really?
Is
It
drugs
truly
and
is.
alcohol.
Yeah.
Well, that and the upper and lower GI. By the way, here's a tip. If you're going in for routine examinations, just lie about your weight.
Great.
Because if you lie about your weight, they increase the dose of sedative. So I routinely add 20 pounds. And then when you get on that wave, you just, all right, that's it. Just keep me, and then bang.
Okay. Well, look, it's very public. It backfired, but there was a sweet spot. I haven't drank since 2004. Okay. So I was 29. And before I fucked up, these things are freebies, right? You go, you get your colonoscopy, and you get a 3-second reminder of what it feels like to not be.
Now, can I ask a question
Yeah,
on this?
yeah, of course.
So that 3-second reminder is worth the preparation that keeps you up all night the night before. Now, if a person is doing this more than a hobby, can a person actually facilitate a longer version of the 3-second ride?
Oh, absolutely. You could just be on the Versed. And you would be happy as a clam for a very long time.
So you could stay just on the verge of feeling the wave crash. You could stay right up there.
Yes.
For the love of God.
I think you would appreciate this. Well, maybe not, because you're so recognizable. I'm sure you get away with murder. But I had not been intoxicated in any form for 8 years. And the first time I went for a colonoscopy, I get the Versed, and the nurse says, "Can you feel it?" And I say, as I'm passing out, "Well, you just went from a 6 to a 10. I think that's a pretty good joke. It just means I'm drunk. She wasn't a 6, Dave. She was already an 8, and she went to a 9. But
so even under the influence of anesthesia, you were being sexist.
Yes.
No, I was more
Thank
trying to
you.
get approval for being funny, I would say.
Oh,
but I guess, yes, the
now you-
mechanism
Yeah.
was
That's right.
sexism.
Yeah, that's the first thing that came to my mind. I've had the arthroscopic thing where they go up inside an artery and take a look at your heart and all of that. And for that, they want to be able to talk to you. So I think they use exclusively versed, so you can continue to have a conversation while the procedure is taking place. How are we feeling now? And I would say, well, we're feeling like we're being cheated on the dose. And so they would load me up again and you'd be fine. And then it would wear off and then you'd have to go through the same thing. It's like we're closing, son. You got to go home. It was like that.
Yes.
I know other people who have been addicts. Is this all right to say that?
Oh, God, yeah. It's again, I talk about it nonstop.
Okay.
It's such a big part of my life.
That they have to avoid certain medical procedures.
Those people are smart. I race things, I break bones, I get surgeries. I'm not trying to do it like a hero. Like, I'm not trying to suffer. But I did fuck up. Look, there was a section in all this, 18 years, where I did have a 4-month where I went off the rails.
And what was the precipitating reason?
Well, there's a ton of factors. One was it was COVID, which is unique. I think that thing did a lot to us we weren't entirely aware of. My wife and I's relationship, we had a really well-oiled machine seeing each other 3 hours a day. But 24/7 was like, oh, God, we got to go back to the drawing board. A lot of things were happening.
Yeah.
And then I got the surgery and I went back to back. I had to get a hand surgery. And then very shortly thereafter, I had to get a shoulder one. And so I'll tell you exactly what happened. I know what being out of control drinking looks like because I did it for so long. It's very unmanageable for me. This was insanely manageable. Like, I could still interview people. I could still be present for the kids. I was up on time. It was very misleading.
How many hours in the day were you under the influence?
From the time I got up till I went to bed.
You could manage it that well.
Yes, you're not slurring your speech. There's no obvious signs. Your cognition's maybe reduced, but I don't think dramatic. Not like
There
when
are
you're
signs.
hammered. Monica saw some signs. Yeah. That was part of the,
But if
You
you're
know
doing
someone.
if you're doing a podcast, the cognition's pretty low anyway, right?
It is.
Yeah,
It's
it
real
requires
baseline.
zero.
Yeah, that's why it's ushered in all of us that are now popular doing it. I do like this topic because I was aware of the fact that you didn't drink. From the time I was young, you were always kind of very honest about the fact that you didn't drink. And then as I had to go then join a program to quit drinking at 29, my curiosity about your history just went up. I thought, I don't know that part of the story. Did Dave just have somehow this magic willpower that he quit at 34?
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you just a couple of more questions.
Yeah.
Does talking about it rekindle a fire?
No, not at all.
So it has to be a true episode of some trauma.
It's when it gets in you. As you, I imagine, have experienced, you have a game plan before you get to the bar. I'm going to have 3 drinks tonight, and then I'm going to go home and go to sleep. And then the second the elixir starts working, there's a whole new person steering.
right.
I'm normally a very trustworthy and in control human, and then all of a sudden the new version of me arrives, which is like, I don't give a fuck about any consequence that comes after the 3rd drink. So the same principle's happening. Once it's in me, I don't want to let this feeling go. And let's just try to not get caught.
Well, I think about this a lot of time because people are always surprised when I tell them, no, I didn't go to AA. And I thought AA was a miracle, and I think it does work. I don't think it works to the degree people believe it works.
Sure.
And I think the recidivism or recidivism, either way, is pretty high.
Yeah, I do too.
I quit because I realized if I don't quit, there's a good chance I could screw something up and lose the job that I'd wanted all my life. So that was the single final motivator to stop. And subsequently, thinking about this, I realized, I wonder if perhaps I was not an alcoholic, but it was the alcohol that made me feel like a regular human. So what is that? Is that alcoholism? Because there have been other things that have helped boost my self-impression and self-esteem, which were not alcohol, one of which was being in front of 400 people every night and trying to make them laugh. And if that were the case, that was fine. So I don't know if my use of alcohol, and I started when I was like 11 and stopped when I was 34.
That's very Indiana of you.
Yeah. Well, it was the dad's having a scotch and soda at Christmas, Cutty Sark.
Ooh.
And I said, well, geez, what's that? Well, here you go. So, and by gosh, I just thought, whoa, I'm 11. Where have they been hiding this?
Yes.
And,
yes.
Off and running.
See, I think that's the element that for people who are not addicts, they can't relate, which is you have it. And the second you have it for the first time, you go, oh, this is what I've been craving. This is like the calm I've been desiring, right?
People would say to me, why are you doing this night after night after night? And I said, I feel better this way.
Yeah. Did it take you a while to learn to live without it?
No, I mean, I tried to quit. I would go to the doctor for periodic physicals. Oh, geez, your liver feels like a recliner. And then they would say, well, do you drink? And of course, a couple of beers here and there, which just a lie.
Yeah.
But I realized I had to quit because I was worried about screwing up my life.
Do you think perhaps you didn't require any kind of help because you did have an outlet? You had another external way to regulate your insides.
Yes, I substituted one crutch, one deadly possibility, for another, which was more benign and greatly positive. But I think that's it. That's the element. So what does that mean in terms of the diagnosis of alcoholism?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree with you. If you look at the statistics, the best estimate is like 30% of people will achieve sobriety through AA. So I completely agree with you. It doesn't have a great success rate. Only does it have a great success rate relative to the other approaches.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Your example is an anomaly that you could have just done it. I think that's very rare.
Well, that's what makes me wonder about the label alcoholic. I don't know, but I couldn't stop drinking, and I was drunk more days out of a week than not.
Don't you think it's a spectrum a little bit?
Oh, God, yeah.
Like we have people in our friendship circle who are addicts. To me, that's different than
Werewolves,
problem drink.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
yes,
the moon comes out.
you
and-
become a completely different person. I also think disease really gets linked to that. I see certain people as that's a disease. Then there's problematic drinking. I think that's different.
But you're hitting on something that's really key also to how I went down the relapse rabbit hole, which is I too wondered, was I just young? Was I so pessimistic about my opportunities and this thing I left Michigan to pursue? Did I have so much fear? And then as I've built this kind of stable foundation in life and financial security and a family, it filtered in, right? Like, oh, maybe it was that. But then I quickly discovered, no, that's me. You give me something I like. If I feel good for 9 minutes from anything, I'm going to go, what was that? And I want to repeat it nonstop.
Yeah, it was the comparison of the audience reaction and the alcohol. Oh, this feels good. And also why I tried to avoid other things, because I felt like I already have a pretty strong fondness for alcohol. I don't need to connect it. For example, when I lived here in the 70s, everybody was enjoying cocaine. And I just thought, I'm having my own fun here. I don't need to add this.
Yeah, Comedy Store in 75.
Yeah.
As someone in comedy, you hear all these stories of just how out in the open it all was. Or that Rodney Dangerfield would walk into a casting meeting and pull out an ounce of cocaine and just, freely blow lines as he's trying to get a job in a movie. And you think, well, it's much different.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't need that. Am I in the friendship circle now? Is that what you're
Yes,
talking
you're
about?
in the pod. Welcome.
But
Yeah.
it is, you mentioned friendship circle.
Yeah, we call that a pod too. That's confusing.
Oh, right. Yeah, no,
Yes.
above friendship would be you're in the pod.
That's a group
good.
of friends.
I want everything I can get out of this.
You
We're
got
going to
it.
give you the platinum package.
Yeah.
Now, here's a question I have. I was listening to what I thought was the show
Oh,
a couple of weeks ago. Somebody said to me, they had a bear expert on.
okay.
And I said, oh, I like bears. So I tune in the show, and you're on the show.
Yeah.
And maybe it was Rob.
No, it's not. It's David Ferrier. You listen to Flightless Bird
Yeah.
about bears.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you learn anything? Or
No, because I didn't know who was talking. And then
Oh, David's going to be so happy to hear that you
I thought
accidentally.
he was the bear guy, but he wasn't the bear guy.
They don't even have bears in New Zealand.
That's right.
I brought the only bear New Zealand's ever had on a movie we shot.
You pointed that out off mic.
Yeah,
And so
oh,
I
yeah.
thought, well, wait a minute. If this is his podcast, why doesn't the man have a microphone?
We produce a lot of shows.
How many shows?
We do probably 200 episodes a year of content. 65, 70% of that is us. And then David has a show. We have a child therapist who has a great show.
I did a fertility show. We've done dating shows.
I had a heavy friend and a fitness friend race to 270 pounds. Everything's on the table.
And what about the bear guy? Does he have a show?
Not yet, but was he
bear
interesting
expert
enough?
that you guys had on?
We could bring him on.
Did you learn anything?
No.
You didn't.
Oh, no, I was confused. I thought, now, wait a minute. I thought this was going to be Dax and Monica. And it was Monica and person I didn't know who I mistakenly believed was the bear guy.
Yeah,
Was
sure.
not the bear guy. And then you get on off mic talking about your experience with the bear in New Zealand.
Oh, that was in there?
Yes, because Dax, let's just pull the curtain back. We are exclusive to Spotify. This show, Armchair Expert, is. So Flightless Bird is available everywhere. Dax is not technically allowed to be everywhere contractually. We
so
knew
a
contracts would
strange
come
guy
up.
stops in sometimes and
Sometimes
has
he
a story that
appears.
sounds like a story Dax might have.
Yes. So that also
Wow.
tells me you were on Apple Podcasts. You were not on
I don't,
Spotify.
honestly, I don't care. I don't know how to get out of this room.
I know. You're never leaving. We got you here.
I got the air on for you.
So when you started this show, whose idea was it? It was your idea.
No, it was Dax's idea. He wanted to do a long form interview show.
Right.
And I just said, I'm tagging along.
Is this well-trod territory? Is everybody sick of talking about this?
No.
So you started the show. In the world of podcasts, how do you know if it's doing well?
We get real time because it's all digital and over the computer. We can look at any moment and see how many people have listened to
Is that
an
right?
episode. Yeah.
Because as you may know, I am ratings poison.
Well, you're blowing into all these areas I want to be in. So I'm going to rein you in a little bit. You're the grizzly bear. Now I am the bear expert.
Okay.
Okay. In order. When you retired, you must have the same architecture in your head that I was given in Michigan, which is you work hard, you save a bunch of money, and then you go down and fuck off to Florida. And it's so imprinted in my mind that I can't help romanticizing about retiring for some weird reason. Then another voice is like, retire from what? Chatting with people you love.
Right.
I have to imagine for you it was a complicated experience.
It was awful. I agree with you on that myth, and I think it was kind of stamped into people in the 50s. You work hard, take home the money from the factory, the company, the store, wherever, and thank God at 55, I don't have to do that anymore. Well, that's nonsense. It was difficult for me in the beginning about the retirement because there's no schedule. All of a sudden, for 30 years, I had a schedule. I knew almost to the exact moment that I put on my tie. It was like that. And it's rote.
Yeah. And the validation that
Well,
you
that's what I was
just
going to
mentioned.
say.
Yeah,
in
you're-
particular, the external thing was also now taken.
Yeah,
And booze has
yeah.
been gone for 30
That's
years.
right. That's right. If you're enjoying your job, just keep working until they have to get 911 in there to cart you out.
Right. But do you have this kind of seesaw in your head of like you retire, and then you go, fuck, I kind of want to do something again, but I shouldn't because I said I retired. And then I go
That's
do
right.
something, and then I go, no, I should have been retired.
Yeah.
And then do you find that you're on a seesaw of like
Yeah.
wanting to work, not wanting to work?
I was very lucky in that regard that I got to do a little of what I used to do, and it was enough of what I used to do to make me feel better about myself. But it wasn't 5 days a week kind of nonsense.
Yes. And then now we're to the long form part, which I wanted to ask you about. The reason we started this is that I had been on late night talk shows 50 times. You have 6 minutes, be amazing. And then I started guesting on other people's long form podcasts, and I found that I could like relax and perhaps slowly paint a whole picture of my opinion. And I found that so rewarding in relation to the other thing I had been doing, that I was like, this is such freedom. And I wonder if when you were doing The Late Show, you felt that compartmentalized experience. And then when you got to do your Netflix show, did you experience that same thing? Like, well, fuck, man, we can now walk. We can take a stroll.
You've described it accurately and aptly. And I used to run interviews over so long that they'd be in editing till nearly airtime. Then we got to do the longer form. But the problem with that freedom comes the question about, well, geez, isn't this just deadly dull?
Yeah, it's
So you don't know. And then later you find out from your friends
He's looking at his friends now.
He has two friends
currently,
here.
yeah.
that, you know what, if you could just move it along.
Oh.
So while it may be satisfying to somebody who has an enormous ego and a big mouth, it may not be the end
Well,
product.
it's more time on the Versed.
You're exactly
true.
right.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
can just live in this space.
Yeah.
Again, once I like it, I don't want to let it go.
Yep.
So why would I want to step out of this?
Yeah. By the way, this experience here today will carry me for a couple of days feeling better about myself.
It should.
Okay,
That's
good.
the goal.
Is that the goal?
I think
To feel
so.
better about yourself?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and connected.
Up here in the circle of friends?
That's right. We want to make everyone feel good. Wait, there's an elephant in the room that I don't know if you're planning on telling him.
Yeah.
But I feel like I should, since you told Matt Damon about my history.
Okay, I was going to save it to the very
Okay.
end
All right, we
because I
can.
know how much he hates it.
Okay. Uh-oh.
But I appreciate
Now
it.
there's a dangle.
Matt Damon is Monica's. You and I don't have a word to explain
You'll never understand it.
the amount of affection she has towards him.
Admiration.
Yeah, and just love and
Carnal,
lust.
everything.
Really.
He would come on the show, and it always seemed like America's, here's the nice guy everybody should be. A smart, handsome, chatty, personable.
But with a little bit of a potty mouth, makes
Well,
him interesting.
We didn't get there.
Okay.
Is he the one that would do the Matthew McConaughey? Every time he would come on, I would make sure that he would do his impression of Matthew McConaughey to the point where he got very, very tired of it. But I couldn't get enough of it.
Can I do mine for you?
Yeah.
Okay. So, as we're all, I'm sure, you must be obsessed with Matthew McConaughey. I'd imagine he has everything you and I don't have. We're tall, lanky goofballs. This guy looks like he's the most comfortable in his skin of any
Yep.
human. He seems to genuinely enjoy fame, which is incredible. And I don't say that judgmentally. It's awesome. Like, it seems like he is who he wanted to be. So, I'm on a camping trip. He happens to be there. I'm ignoring.
Wait a minute.
Yep.
He happens to be
Yeah.
on a camping trip with
Yes.
you.
It's a fancy camping trip. Like, we get
Yeah.
invited to someone's house up north of here, and it's like 100 campers. He's there.
This makes no sense.
Okay, well, the point is I'm there, and he's the hot girl in school, so I'm not going to talk to him, right?
That'll show him.
Yeah. Well, Dave, that never works. It happened to work. So I'm just like washing some dishes in this little sink. And my assumption, he doesn't know who I am. And I hear all of a sudden, Mr. Dax, Mr. Dax. What happened with that movie, Chips? They dumped that movie? I heard they dumped that movie. I heard that movie's good. What happened with that movie? And I'm like, oh my God, he knows my name. He knows the movie I just made. He knows it tanked. He's saying it's the studio's fault. Like, this is off to
Wow.
a perfect start.
Yeah.
And then I find myself in lawn chairs next to this little lake, and I get to talk to him for a couple hours. And I'm getting to ask the questions you'd want to ask on your show, right? Because again, as you and I, we share this drinking thing. I said to him, how is it that I know you drink like a motherfucker, and yet you go jogging every morning at 7 a.m.? You just have a constitution? And he goes, yeah, I got a constitution. He goes, listen, Dax, sometimes when I'm drinking, I look in the mirror and I say, McConaughey, we're going hard. But tomorrow morning, we're going to wake up and we're going to run. And I got to tell you something right now. Some of my best workouts, when I push through that hangover, I break through, and that's where it's at.
Wow.
You know, I'm watching
Yeah.
them on TV, but I'm somehow in it, and it's wonderful.
I don't do impressions, happily, I think, in this context. But it reminds me of when Paul Newman was Paul Newman, and was, I think, till the day he died. I remember as a kid reading that Paul would purposefully each day drink a case of Budweiser. A case.
Right.
24 bottles of Budweiser.
Sure. Let's do the ounces. That's
yeah.
360 ounces of beer.
Oh my God.
And then his secret was go right to the steam bath and soak his head in a tub or sink of ice water. And that's how he handled it.
Did you watch the great documentary about he on HBO recently? Ethan Hawke made it.
Oh, I think I was in it.
Were you in it?
Was I in it? I'm being
You
told
were
I was in
great.
it. Thank
You were
you.
fucking great. That was a test to see if you saw it, not me. I knew you were in it. I was testing you.
Oh my God.
I had particular interest in that aspect because that was very quiet. No one really knew. And Joanne Woodward even is on record saying, no, he was an alcoholic. I'd make him sleep in the driveway. And the notion that he, yes, soaked his face every morning in ice. And this is my thought. This is what an addict I am. I'm like, that's what I didn't do.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the problem. That
I
was
just
the
didn't
problem.
do it right. He did it right.
So he walks around looking like Paul Newman every day of his life and has a case of Budweiser. You know, take the edge off.
You cannot have his abs and drink 24 Budweisers in the morning.
Paul.
What a freak of nature. You were kind of close with him, yeah? Or you guys had racing in common?
He's been gone long enough that I will tell you he and I were pretty much best friends.
You were?
Yeah, pretty much best friends. We were like brothers.
Oh, my God.
Awesome.
No, I hardly knew him.
We're so gullible. Oh my God. You really got us.
Not only, fuck you, because not only did you get me,
So much for the circle of friendship.
not only did you get me, you actually grinched my heart.
Yeah.
It grew 2 sizes. I was like, Dave
Okay,
actually
let's try
had
it again. Let's try it again. Paul and I,
We're acquaintances.
we got to be friends.
You did.
Yeah, but I would never presume to insinuate myself into his life. I knew him. He and I purchased a car together that I still have, the Volvo wagon. We knew each other from racing. We talked on the phone, so we were friendly. I went up to the Hole in the Wall gang once with Paul, a life-changing moment to be sure. I always felt, not that my opinion counts much, but that's the way people are supposed to be, was Paul.
Yeah. I watched that thing and I was like, there's some character there that I aspired to have, I guess.
Well, same with me. The problem is the important lessons one learns are the ones that one forgets the quickest. You got to relearn the important ones and you think, well, this is obvious. Why didn't it stick?
I have the same epiphany every 3 weeks. I mean, literally, it's the same
that's
one.
right. I just watched the documentary Navalny, the Soviet dissident.
Current or from the Bolshevik Revolution?
He's in prison now for his behavior.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it great?
Talk about an epiphany. You think, holy shit, I got to do something. He's got a family. His daughter's at Stanford. He'll never get out of this prison. They poisoned him once. He was running for president against Putin. It's terrifying because it's 2023. We're humans. Why are humans behaving this way still? Unanswerable question. Now, is anybody listening to this?
Millions.
We have a lot of listeners.
But no, I mean this nonsense here.
I got to tell you, one of my questions for you was going to be, what books do you read? In hopes that we'll share this.
Okay.
I mean, I just own my...
That's always the
Right.
goal.
Yeah. Do you like biographies?
I like nonfiction. My favorite book of all time was written by a guy whose name I can't recall, about the Wright brothers. And it was the definitive Wright brother history.
Not the McCullough one, was
Nope. I thought that was okay, but I thought it was like an abbreviation of the one. I think Fred Winston might have been the guy's name about this book that I read.
it? Now, okay, so I read at least the McCullough one.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it.
It'll get you some cursory.
Yeah.
The thing that I guess blew my mind is that those two are the most famous human beings in the world. That's the weird element that I latched onto. It's like they would go to Europe and just 100,000 people would be gathered to see these two had invented a flying machine. I thought that was so interesting.
Now, here's the part where people have stopped listening, right?
No. There's an educated audience.
You're in your head about that, I can tell. And because I know you well now because we're friends.
Very perceptive.
And this is the part people like. They like the things you don't hear.
I'll tell you, we interviewed Hillary Clinton. The best part of the whole interview, the thing everyone loves the most, is I somehow get her to admit that she's been cleaning her house, going from the basement to the top of the house. And we stumble upon that Bill has this fucking DVD collection. And then we realize
He's so
every
annoying.
man has a DVD collection they will not get rid of, right? And to hear that those two are struggling with the same issue all married couples are, that men want to hold their DVD collection.
That's the relatable piece.
That's what's great about that interview.
I have a DVD collection.
What's your
Of course,
favorite
you have a
movie?
laser disc collection. That's the true.
Porky's too.
Oh,
I'm
wonderful.
afraid to believe anything you say now because you tricked us.
You'll be happy to.
Wow, what an accomplishment. I tricked him.
Got us.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
Okay, now you did 6,000 shows in 30 plus years. So you interviewed 12,000 people minimally in that time. Did you have a preference interviewing men or women? Did you have a different disposition?
Well, I've never had that question. I'm going to say probably, not knowingly, and it always came down to, was there a relationship beyond just being on a TV show? If you had what appeared to be and seemed and felt like a friendship, then there was no difference. If you had a good guest, there was no difference. If you had a bad guest, there was no difference. But just because of the way humans are, maybe there was a different feeling that shouldn't exist, I guess, now that we know that.
Well, it's reality.
I'm asking because it just occurred to me literally last week, I think, talking to my wife and then maybe in therapy. I'm like, oh yeah, when I interview women, I'm so calm and I'm not in a hurry. I don't have a pacing issue ever when I interview women. Often when I interview men, I don't know if this is an innate male conflicty thing, or maybe I'm trying to exert my will. I'm nervous they're going to exert their will. Something happens that I just noticed, wow, my pace is a lot different. I had this commitment to myself. Oh, when Dave gets here, I'm going to try my hardest to interview him like he's a woman. I'm aspiring to interview everyone like
Good
I would
strategy.
a woman.
I get that a lot.
Do you?
Yeah.
No.
Sit down, Dave. I want to talk to you just gal to gal.
It is International Women's Day, so this is all very
that's right.
apropos.
Perfect time.
But, everything went away if the person exerted confidence in what they were up to, was not fearfully nervous or frightened, and somebody who might exchange silliness, somebody who could make fun of me if I made fun of them.
Well, I guess maybe for me, that's the inherent foundation, is that I know how to be playful with females. I don't always know how to be playful with men. The best thing I can offer is playfulness. I think that's what, of course, your show had in
So
spades.
you didn't ever have the blessing of interviewing Regis.
No.
Because you could be playful with Regis any way you wanted. I think about things like that, and I wish things had changed sooner than they have, because you think about what happened and the dynamic of years and years ago, and you realize, geez, that was not right.
You mean on your own side of the street?
Because in those days, many, many, many things that one, perhaps ignorant ones, felt was acceptable, we now know, that really wasn't acceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the inherent problem with comedy and aging, is your job is to be on the line. That's the actual job.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the line is moving throughout history.
Things change, and you are either changing in time or you're changing because somebody's tapped you on the shoulder.
Does it bother you a ton, or are you able to say, I was a person of my time, I'm different now, and everything's
Well, I
groovy?
hope I'm different now, but you feel stupid because does everything need to be pointed out to an adult? Doesn't an adult grow into obvious things that they may have overlooked or may have been ignorant about earlier in life? And I feel like I'm the former, like, yeah, I don't know. So I'm sorry I'm that guy. I wish I was ahead of the trend of being correct about things.
Our friend Obama, who we've both got to interview, the guy was the greatest and on the wrong side of some issues. On some level, it's not possible.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. But on the other hand, that's no defense. That's ignorance.
Yes.
You can't plead ignorance and be set free. You got to be a better person. And maybe the only way you can be a better person is to constantly try to achieve and process information externally that you're not generating internally. Okay, we'll be right back.
Yeah,
I love
no,
that.
that's great.
Yeah.
That's better said than
I brought a clip.
No, but that's the difference, is wanting to be better actually requires work.
Yeah.
It's not just saying, I
that's-
want that.
That's a good point. I'm the president of that party. I'm more comfortable whining about what an awful person I am than exerting the energy to change.
Yeah,
it's
that's
just
most
easier.
of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what a jerk I am.
No.
Oh, well. What's for dinner?
On to the next.
Yeah.
Next thought. Okay, quick question about my next guest needs no introduction. Right out of the gate, you interviewed a bunch of legends, really, people that were enormously known and successful and huge. I was curious if you found that to be a tiny bit of an Achilles, in that you want to get someone right when they're establishing their identity, when they're being provocative and letting you in on this new perspective they have that defines them. And then there's this interesting backside of it where it seems a lot more like legacy preservation. And I wondered if that occurred to you as you entered into doing such heavy hitters, or if that wasn't your experience, or if you're aware of that at all. Like when you get the sense someone's now just in preservation mode, not declaration mode.
The example that comes to my mind is President Obama. When he came to our show, I was so terrified, which was strange because he had been on our old show while he was in office. But because he was now no longer president, there were certain restrictions that were suggested by his staff and certain things that I felt uncomfortable talking about because that dynamic had changed, that I felt like it just turned pointless. And I always felt like gosh, gosh, that's right.
I think golly was the word you're searching for.
Dang. I wish I would do that again, because now I would be not encumbered by my own insecurities about, what can I talk about with this guy and with Trump and on and on. I just turned into a ninny, I feel, and I would like to talk to him again because I think those things that I was concerned about have disappeared.
Right.
But everyone's different. You feel your way through it. And you talk about Hillary Clinton, a little bit the same there. What really are we free to talk about here now as opposed to when she was in the White House with her husband? I don't know, but it's an excellent observation. And it rolls through my mind with everybody we talk to about what is the most valuable thing here we can accomplish.
Yeah, and by the way, I wasn't criticizing that episode. I think you did as good as you can do. It just points out like
there's
how
your criticism.
No,
I did
was in the
as well
same
as I could do.
Yeah, I was in the same position. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not going to get him to give me anything that's remotely dangerous, and that's just an interesting feeling while you're doing it. You're like, okay.
Well, also it must be weird for him because he's like the change guy and started his whole career as the one pushing the limits and saying things and being out there. And then now he's on the other side of that where he has to be careful.
Yeah, he probably feels pretty confined by it.
I think everybody sort of thought, oh, great, well, now we're going to have cool presidents.
Right.
And that only lasted 8 years.
Yep.
But it would be so great if the United States was the country that had the cool woman or man as the president.
Okay, one more question. We're going to talk about the documentary, which I loved. One thing I was curious about, you must have observed it as someone who has listened to Stern over the years. And by the way, when you're on Stern, they're so great. They're like my favorite interviews.
I think he really is the guy of our generation, certainly, and perhaps beyond. I think if you're looking for a guy, as somebody who's a tremendous interviewer,
He's kind of the high water mark.
I think so.
Yeah. An interesting thing happened that you have certainly have to have been aware of, which is at the beginning of his career, he's a shock jock. People are probably being told to go in there. Well, fuck, you got to go in there. The guy's got 20 million listeners. No one wants to go. There's this battle that happens between he and the guests. And over time, his status elevates, right? And I think the financial thing really bolsters that. This whole thing evolves. And there's a transition, which is really curious for an interviewer, which is the guests now want his approval. That's a tremendous amount of leverage. And I think you see his interviews get better and better and better as he is either a peer or he is maybe even elevated above the guests. Even you are showing up wide awake for him. Could you feel that in your own career? Could you feel that you were the punk rock fuck up at 12:30, and then as things evolved, people now, me, Dave, when I was in there talking to you on your show, I'm like having an out-of-body experience. That's an interesting dynamic to evolve for someone who does your job.
Well, I know exactly what you're talking about with regard to Howard, and I noticed something, and maybe it's the same thing that happened for me. At a certain point, a couple of years into the CBS run, I found that people were exhibiting some kind of reverence to the experience.
Yeah.
And I just thought, well, this is bullshit. This is show business. This is what show business is all about. But it seemed to keep happening on a recurring basis. And I think that just happens with time. You know, like, by God, Pete Rose ought to be in the Hall of Fame. Everything changes in that perspective.
Do you think it at all?
Have you had Pete on, by the way?
I haven't. You got his number?
Man. Charlie Hustle.
I don't know Charlie Hustle.
That's Pete Rose.
Oh, that was...
What?
We don't know anything.
Well, hold on.
So much
We know
for
a
the
few
circle of friends.
Wait.
I'm not coming back.
We need you. We need you to teach
Pete
us
Rose
stuff.
was nickname was Charlie Hustle?
Oh, come on.
I don't-
Who in
sorry.
this room doesn't know that?
Did you guys know his nickname was Charlie Hustle?
Rob?
I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Rob's
fuck
a,
you,
he
you
knows.
backstabber.
Yeah.
My God, that didn't
You're
take
getting
long.
fired.
I got 5 years with this guy.
Fired for knowing Charlie Hustle.
How dare you double cross me like that, Rob? Here's my real question.
It's about time.
As you already know, I came on here at some point and had to say, look, I don't have 16 years of sobriety. That was a brutal fucking day. I don't want to do that. I think I'm going to lose sponsors. I think it's going to end the whole thing. But I do it. It was a lot of things, liberating being one of them, like living with a secret and a lie was really exhausting and time consuming. So I admire how you handled your situation. And I don't want to go into it, but I am curious. Was it harder for you to go on TV and do that? Or was it harder for you to bring up to Jay-Z. That to me, of all the episodes that you did, I was like, Dave is fearless. I applaud this. I'm so blown away that he could do that. The exchange was incredible. It's my favorite moment of that whole thing.
You're being very kind, and the answer is no. The original coverage of the episode, you just go numb from fear because I worried about my family. Everything else comes in a distant second.
Yeah.
And my interest in this with regard to you, were you worried about placing your family at risk?
I'd love to say yes, but I wasn't, because again, the illusion that it was completely controlled didn't at all make me think anything was in jeopardy.
Until you had to make it known.
Well, I knew I had to come off, so I was coming off and I was detoxing like in a movie. And then I just was lying about why I was so visibly, physically fucked up. And I didn't like lying to my family and my friends. I didn't have the tolerance I had for it at 29 to gaslight people I love. I used to be able to do that, and that's maybe the only thing the 16 years of sobriety bought me is I couldn't do it this time around. It was brutal.
It's a relief, it's a blessing, and a delight to find yourself beyond that. It's like, well, thank God somebody came and took the Dodge out of the garage. Is that's nothing.
That's a
that
very
doesn't mean
well-known
anything.
saying. Yeah, no.
Will somebody come and pick up the Dodge? Oh boy,
We gotta get it out of the garage.
Look at the time.
Okay. I love you. Thank you for talking on that. Okay. The U2 documentary, Bono and the Edge, a sort of homecoming with David Letterman. I think right out of the gates, because it's in the title sequence, there's some writing on the screen and it says, we ask our old friend to come help us have this homecoming. So right out of the gates, I was like, I guess I didn't know you were old friends with Bono and the Edge.
We went to the same grade school together.
In Dublin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We played on the football team, soccer, together.
Right. Thanks.
And for a while, I carried their equipment to gigs.
Okay, great.
Oh my God, what a
They need
history.
a guy with long arms to bring those amps in.
Well, I will tell you, none of that's true, what you just read. I have known them over the years through the show. The whole show was their idea, and they contacted us about, we have this new collection of music that is performed, written differently than released on albums and played in concerts. We want to kind of do a show. Them thinking of me like that is great. I remember one week they were on every night, and that just doesn't happen in the world of popular music, rock and roll. So yeah, there is that connection. The best part about stuff like this is when you find people that are, oh my God, and they are, oh my God. They're decent, nice, rock solid human beings, crazy smart and crazy gifted. And you know that immediately. The first time I spent with Bono on this project, within 2 minutes, he's closer to me than you are, and he's singing unembarrassedly as though you're listening to it on a tremendous recording. And it was, oh, Jesus. And the same with The Edge. We talked for 2 hours, then he picks up a guitar and starts playing it, and all of a sudden, you're in Wembley Stadium, and it's, oh, Jesus, this is crazy. The whole experience was like that.
That moment, he starts playing the opening riff of Where the Streets Have No Name for You with the 75 pedals. How he's making that noise, I don't know. It's insane. It sounds like it does in front of you and not on a CD. And it's so visceral, your reaction, where you're witnessing something that's so completely out of what you could possibly do.
Well, that's what it was. And these two were there for it. And it wasn't just us three pedestrians. It was everybody in the studio. It was fireworks. People say, oh, I got to go to the symphony tonight. And I said, that's great because the music will be tremendous, but you'll be able to see this machine build and make that music. And that's what this experience was like. I'm standing that close to him, watching the machine make the music. It's great.
There's two moments in it. It's the Monica being kissed on the forehead by Matt Damon, which we have a photo of. It's like she made a face that she doesn't have.
A brand new
Truly,
face.
I'm like,
Wow.
I've known you for 8 years. Who's that? But there's a look on your face both when he's strumming that and then when you go with them to this great bar in Dublin and there's maybe 5 people playing guitar and there's some fiddlers playing and people are just singing without microphones. We pan to you and you're by the bar and I can see you're transcending. You don't know you're being shot is my hunch at that point.
That was a great part of it. I mean, the whole thing was great. I'd done stuff like this, but never at this level. And it was delightful. And the guy who directed it, Morgan Freeman,
Oh, Morgan.
It's
They
not-
got Morgan
it's
on this?
Morgan Neville. I'm sorry. Forgive
No,
me.
tell me the director.
Morgan Freeman.
Wow. This is you
I
too.
mean-
Yeah.
Charlie Hustle. At a point, everybody in the pub is singing along, and I think, oh, Jesus, this is my worst nightmare. Am I supposed to sing along? I
yeah.
don't want to sing along. They don't want me singing along.
Right.
At one point, I'm kind pretending to sing along. And I think, well, here I am. It's like when I was a kid in church, and you're supposed to be singing, and I could never sing then either. Morgan Freeman. I'm so sorry,
He's one of the best doc directors out there.
Morgan Neville.
He could be. We don't know.
We just don't know. I love you too. First CD ever, Rattle and Hum. Then I go backwards, 14 years old. They're everything. They're kind of like, I was into punk, but this is punk, but it actually sounds good. Musicianship is amazing. The songwriting's beautiful. You got out of them. It was articulated what I felt from that band, which was really cool, which is they're so fucking sincere. You're just blown away with the sincerity. They make their first album when they're 18. And then what I found really interesting is that they were a part of this interesting religious order.
Isn't that bizarre? And to a point where they had to make a choice. What are we going to do? Are we going to be rock and roll stars, or are we going to follow our religious bent in life? And I think they've done both, really. Yesterday on the plane out here, I was listening to a collection of their music from the 80s to the 90s or something in the headphones, and you hear what is being discussed, what is being sung. Nobody's writing that particular level of lyric. That is spiritual. Without question, there's another influence in that music, and yet wildly popular. If you've listened to Christian rock, which I do sometimes in Montana, that's all you can get is Christian rock.
Okay.
And after a while, it becomes like, fine, it's Christian rock, but there's something about that in their music that does suggest a higher power.
But what's interesting is it's not overt, or I wouldn't have liked it.
That's exactly right. Whether you know it or not, it's there.
That's what I'm saying, which is why I liked it so much, this doc. It's giving me some explanations for some things I had that I couldn't, because again, they're not over. I wouldn't have known they're religious. I'm smart enough to know they're from fucking Dublin in the 70s, so that's a very religious place. But the notion that The Edge, it sounded like in particular, was really on the verge of dedicating his life to this interesting Christian order. And they explicitly told him, you can't be musicians.
If you take that circumstance and put it anywhere in the United States, in anybody's garage where anybody is starting a band, that's not going to be a conversation.
No, you're not even going to hear someone's pitch on that. You won't be around the guy who even makes that pitch. But out of the weight of that order, The Edge comes up with Bloody Sunday. And you're like, okay, wait, I knew that song had this power. I could feel it. I assumed it was just about the strife between North and South. But then when you hear that, you go, oh my God, it's even more rooted in like an existential crisis of calling.
Yeah. How did they do it? I can see, okay, we got this one song. Wow, nice going. The Hall of Fame's going to call goodnight. But they're all the equivalent of that in different directions of the spectrum.
That is the fun of watching it, because you hear Bloody Sunday and you go, right, that's the song that made me love you too. And you think you're kind of done, and then they cue up the next song. You're like, oh no, I loved that song. And then you guys do this incredible thing where they send Larry and Adam on vacation, and then, you know, just Edge and Bono get together with the stringed orchestra. And now the thing that got me the most of that is the cellist, the woman playing the cello and replacing basically the drums and the bass. Took it to this crazy level.
That, of course, will raise a question, won't it? Which of the versions does one prefer? Can you enjoy them both equally? Can you appreciate one more than the other? They're really taking a chance there by producing this.
Yeah, the other thing I really liked, and I was on a show. In the show, my character had a recording studio. One of the episodes, Glenn Hansard came and recorded there. So I spent a week with him on a set where you're bored and you're sitting around and you're chatting. And I felt so attracted to that human being. And so I just love the detour of you and Glenn spending time together. And it seems that you were infected in the same way.
This is what I started talking about earlier. It all comes down to the person. Who cares what that person is up to? It's the person. I'd never spent any time with him. He'd been on the show, and we're on a train platform outside of Dublin, freezing, and Glenn shows up. we sit down and he starts telling me he's got like a 3-month-old baby. And so my 3-month-old baby is 19 and in college. But automatically I have this connection with him and vice versa. And his eyes are crazy, beautiful eyes, and just a fine guy. I really enjoyed that. That was one of many surprises in the producing of this show.
I love
That and the fact that it was directed by Morgan Freeman.
Yes, isn't it?
Who knew?
That's a rare
Debut.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so glad you told him. That's something I will say to men sometimes, and I've noticed it doesn't go over well sometimes. But you just hit him.
But with him, you think, I'm going to say this because it may be X-ray vision. And I want him to know that there's something going on.
I'm on to you.
Yeah.
I know you can see through me.
Yeah, you're looking at my spleen. Stop it.
Did you watch the show Bad Sisters?
Did I watch that? I'm being told I didn't watch it.
It's an incredible show about these 4 sisters who decide to kill one of the sisters' husbands. It's wonderful. It's an Irish show. And a regular location of that show was that swim spot you went to.
Oh, the 50-foot.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
The 40-foot.
I'm being told it's called the 40-foot.
Okay, wait, this is in its, they've lost 10 feet. It's now the 40-foot. When you were there, it
Climate
was
change.
the 50.
Yeah.
What was the water temperature there?
I think, what was the ambient temperature? 46, 48, something like that. It was cold. Not as bad as I thought it might be.
Okay. You previously have admitted to being a hypochondriac and you've had some heart work done.
Right.
Did it cross your mind, like, I'm not getting in that fucking water?
Well,
I don't like this doc that much. I love Morgan Freeman, but Shawshank's the best. But not enough to die in the 12-footer.
I mean, would it be wrong to say that it was Morgan Freeman? Would that be, if we just go with that?
Is it too late to
I think
change
it's
it?
Yeah.
great.
So like 2 days before we go to Dublin for the swim, I have my annual stress test because 23 years ago I had the quintuple bypass surgery. And I was explaining to these guys and then everything stops. And it's like, can you wait till the summer? Do you have to? And I said, no, we got to do it now. Is this something you've always wanted to do? Well, no, it's not. It's work.
It became therapy.
It's not a bucket list item.
So at the end of the checkup, they said, okay, we think you'll be all right.
Oh, God.
Oh, they gave you the...
Yeah, so they gave me their blessing. And it was brutal. I'd do it again. I don't think it'll kill you. I was happy to be done with it.
Yeah. Okay. You know what it's like to have a 3-month-old. I will say in my own life, all that stuff I replaced, the attention, the 400 people. I think my 2 kids gave me an identity I actually believed in for the very first time.
Yep.
Was that the experience for you?
One of the few universal truths that the switch is flipped. And what occurred to me, and it's all cliches now because you and I aren't the only 2 people on the planet who have had kids.
Right. Morgan's got a bunch.
He and his wife made dinner for us one night.
They did?
Yeah, it was very nice. And the kids were all there.
Oh.
Yeah, anyway, it's and it's what I tell people, in every important way, your life is now just beginning. Really, that's it.
Yeah. Okay. This is what I saved for the end.
Oh, you did. Wait, can I add one more
Yes,
thing
please,
quickly?
please.
I was just thinking, because I started the doc too. At first, when I turned it on, I thought, man, are they not satisfied yet? They're still pushing. They're already the best. They've already proven it. They've already done it. Are they not satisfied? And then as I'm watching, I think, of course they're not, because it is spiritual.
And it's the retirement conversation we had. Like, why on
It
earth are they
is.
going to not be you too?
But when you're so connected to a thing in a way that's not just like for money, you get it a little more. It's like, oh, I see why they'll never stop. And that I think is the same for you probably too. Your work quote is spiritual. You're connected to something much different. What do you think about that?
Well, all of us in this room are in show business. If Bono and The Edge and Larry and Adam were here.
Well, Rob's just out of show business because he sided
Oh,
with you.
that's
but
right.
Yeah, but most of us are still in show
See it
business.
unemployment, Rob. But the version of show business that Bono and The Edge are in is nearly out of the galaxy.
Yeah.
I believe part of the motivation for this release of music refigured, reconstructed, whatever they've done to it, rewritten it, reperformed it, is to focus on the lyrics. I think that what they are interested now in demonstrating that in addition to being maybe the greatest stadium rock and roll band of the generation listen now to the words. I think that's part of it. But the whole time that Bono was there, he's working on a one-man show. It was just crazy. And then oft times he's drawing pictures of the crew and stuff, and that's crazy. And then he's written this 600-page book, and that's crazy. I think that's infinite. I think, luckily, that doesn't go away. I mean, for me, it left when I was about 18.
You left that back in Indy.
Back in Muncie.
Muncie, that's where this is. Okay. So once you announced you were going to retire, you had a year of doing the show where people, when they were on, they pretty much knew this was going to be it. I mean, the level of discomfort you experienced while people told you how much you meant to them was obvious. I can tell that's really not your favorite thing to receive. Ironically, right? We just want validation and approval. And then when it comes, it's painful for some reason.
Right.
So I didn't say any of this until the end, but we're at the end. You're the first thing I started watching that I became obsessed with, probably 11 years old. I had zero dreams of being in show business. I didn't want to be a comedian or anything, but I would practice being interviewed by you in the mirror all through my teens. I would just think about what it'd be like to get interviewed by you. And the reason is you were irreverent. You weren't a jock, but women liked you. You were sarcastic, but you weirdly stood up for things that you valued. You were incredibly brave, but not machismo. You really gave so many of us permission to like who we were, identified with you. I was like, oh my God, maybe through being smart and thoughtful, I can have value and be loved. And it was so encouraging. And I dreamt about being on your show my whole life. I was on your show. I've been in show business for 20 years. It was the best moment of my whole experience. I know you hate that.
He is scowling.
That was it for me. Sitting there, staring at your real face. You were kind to me. I could tell you kind of liked me. And I know when you like people and you don't. It felt so incredible that when I look back on it, that's the moment for me. And I just need to say to you, in my wildest dreams, never thought you'd then come to my house and let me interview you. And this will be with me in my heart forever. And I just want to thank you.
Well, Monica, don't you have something to add?
I got the research yesterday and I was like, okay, this is interesting. This guy's in comedy.
No, what
It's a dream. It's a dream come true.
That's very, very sweet. And it's meaningful because connected to your childhood, that's pretty powerful. And why it's meaningful to me is because we've been here in this room for, geez, it seems like 6-7 hours. But I kind of feel pretty strongly about this experience. And so to have you say that to me now is very nice. Thank you.
Yeah, I know it hurts, but I just wanted to say.
It doesn't hurt. Something about the hospitality and the fun that I've enjoyed here makes it palatable and believable.
Was it as good as that dinner with Morgan Freeman?
Well, thank you, Dax,
Yeah.
and thank you, Monica.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Rob,
What
thank
a
you.
treat.
Rob's going with you, by the way. He's
got a
now your
new-
employee. Yeah.
Good.
All right. Well, good luck with everything. I really want people to check out on Disney Plus.
What do you think they're going to watch? They look for The Littlest Mermaid, isn't it? Or The Little Mermaid, or whatever it is. Isn't that what they're watching on Disney Plus?
Hey, that's a great idea. I don't know if it's too late to add to the title, Little Bono and the Edge Mermaid, sort of homecoming with David,
Paw Patrol.
Aladdin, Letterman. Letterman. Maybe that could get some overlap.
So the bear guy, did Timothy Treadwell come up on that show?
I think maybe you brought him up from the
Okay, I'm obsessed with
sidelines.
Timothy Treadwell.
Yeah.
Can I just say one thing? I went and saw that doc with my then girlfriend, and I promise you, it's the most clairvoyant I've ever been. 6 minutes into that doc, I turned to her and I said, this guy's got some addiction in the background.
Wow.
And then about 9 minutes later, I go, I think he's got some show business in the background too. My God, both of those things were true.
Yeah, exactly.
And you and I
exactly-
are a millimeter away from being Timothy Treadwell. Can I tell you that? I mean, truly.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Wait,
we
why?
don't have the skill set, the natural, whatever, in the right place at the right time. There's not a ton of difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could go either way.
Also, when he would be on the show, we knew it was just a matter of time before he would be eaten alive.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, they say play stupid games, win stupid prizes. You can only play checkers with bears so many times
That's right.
before they eat
That's
you.
right. And he nicely, I guess, one of the bears, maybe the one that ate him, named that bear Dave. I don't know if it's the one
boy.
that killed him. And he sent me a picture. This is your bear, Dave. And I have it framed. You're exactly right. I'm going to sleep in the crosswalk. How long before I get run over
We talk about
by
this
a
all
bus?
the time. It's a very specific type of person who's doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you get a bunch of bears in your yard?
I wouldn't say a bunch, but we do get them, and it's a big, big deal when you get a grizzly on the property. Yeah,
And they're
it's a
probably
big
all
deal.
kind of known and marked there. Like when you get one, can you go, oh, that's A26 or something?
Well, I don't know about that. I don't think they're tagged necessarily unless they've gotten themselves in trouble. And the reason they get in trouble is humans. They're not like gang members.
Right. There's
I
no
think-
MS-13 grizzlies.
You learned that on the bear episode because we definitely talked about that. I caught you.
Exactly.
Oh my God, he's claiming to hate it, yet he's quoting it. And,
know.
and he's also not giving credit.
Exactly.
Wait for a letter from David Ferry's attorney coming soon. Rob will deliver it to you when he takes
Okay,
up
good.
employment with you up in Montana. I can't wait to see Rob somehow designated to deal with the bears. Thank you so much.
Well, no, thank you. This was a lovely thing to be able to do today. And really wasn't quite sure what this would be. And it's been a delight. And thank you, Monica. Thank you very much.
you.
Thanks, Dave. Anytime we can do it again, I'm around.
Okay, thank you.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
And now my favorite part of the show, the fact check with my soulmate, Monica Padman.
Hi.
What caused your delay? We both had delays today.
We did. Mine was poor planning.
Okay.
I edited this morning
Mm-hmm.
and I had therapy.
Oh my gosh.
Thought I had enough time to get this all done and shower.
That's a lot. You would have had to wake up at 7
Right. I woke up at 7:30, but then I snoozed twice.
till 8:15.
7:50.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just a little 20-minute snoozy.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
My shower took longer because I decided to wash my hair.
Oh, okay.
Because
Wonderful.
I was stinky.
Okay.
Hadn't washed my hair since Austin,
Since August.
pretty much. And I had crazy night sweats.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Because of your flies.
Because I'm perimenopause.
Oh, geez. Now you're everyone's perimenopausal.
No, I'm not. I really hope I'm not. That would be bad for me as someone
At
who still
35,
hopes to
don't-
have children.
Yeah, I don't think you're
But
perimenopausal at 35.
my period is coming. It's halfway here.
Right. So do you think that's what it was about?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what happens
Yeah,
sometimes to me. I haven't had it in a bit, but it was damp.
Wow. Went through the sheets. Have to throw out the mattress?
Lady's coming.
CEO's en route.
Yeah, she's gonna fix it.
Okay. It's going to make it go
Fixes
away.
all my problems.
Yeah. As a good CEO does.
Yeah.
Makes problems disappear.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
A fixer.
A fixer. Well, I was a little late for a different reason. I, too, was editing. I was up here editing early, 8:30. Mm-hmm. And then I had to do a walkthrough of the garage with Brian, my handsome builder.
Is he handsome?
Oh, he's very good looking.
Oh.
Yeah. He was friends with Dave Castillo
Oh.
before I met him as a contractor. And then I found out we both like Castillo. So that pretty much seals the Castillo's the deal. Right?
Castillo, also known as.
God bod.
That's right.
Yeah. Stuntman extraordinaire from Chips. Where are you going? You going somewhere?
Yeah, bye.
Okay. See ya. Oh, elegant teapot. Rob, how are you doing today?
Good.
Yeah?
A little tired, but
Yeah. I think everyone's a little tired, right? This is blackout.
yeah. The rain's not helping.
Okay, so the reason I was a little so I was editing, then I went down to do a little walkthrough with Brian, and it's been, pouring rain, so the whole second floor is just soaking wet plywood.
Of your new thing.
Yes, of the garage
Not of
I'm
your
building.
house.
Right, the garage I'm building.
I don't want people to think your house is flooding.
No, the house is not flooded. It's watertight so far. We were discussing where lighting would go in the ceiling.
Yeah.
So we're all looking up at the ceiling. I'm running my hands back and forth. I think it should be on this line, equidistance between this. And I'm walking backwards as I'm doing this. And I've not noted that there is a stack of plywood in the dead center of the what will be the gym, Heaven Mold Paradise, whatever the upgrade is.
You're not going to have.
Any mold.
Yeah, so
Might have to transfer some from the old garage. So stack of plywood probably 9 inches high that I'm not aware of. As I walk backwards looking up at the ceiling, I hit it. So I'm going down, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I have this miraculous recovery. I somehow leap onto the pile of plywood.
Yeah.
I'm also holding my dip cup, right? My
Your spittoon.
My spittoon. Yeah, it's a nice, you can hear it.
Foley.
It's a nice aluminum bottle. And so I got that in my hand and I do my big recovery. And now Brian, the electrician.
No one tried to
guy,
grab you?
No, it's too far away. And also I wouldn't have wanted that.
I know, but
and they knew better. I wouldn't grab Brian. Brian wouldn't grab me. You fall down like a man
so
and I get up.
Stupid.
Be a man. Fall down hard. Don't let your friends help you. Be a man. So this recovery is pretty spectacular. I mean, everyone thinks I think I'm going down.
Yeah.
And then right as I get it under control, I now step backwards off the 9-inch platform. The crowd was so slick. I can't believe how slippery it was. And then I just went out like a banana peel pratfall. Kept the spittoon vertical. And no spillage, nothing, no issues there. But
Thank
I did.
God. Thank God you saved that spit.
Yeah. Well, just thank God it wasn't all over my hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Listen, so that's not what this is about. You're trying to punish me about my chewing. This is about a very big fall I had.
Listen, it's not punishing if it's just what your life is. You chose this.
You chose this life. Listen to me. I hit the deck. Yeah. There's sawdust everywhere. Anyways, and I'm wearing a onesie, a very absorbent onesie.
Which one was it?
My more sleepy looking one, like playful one.
Your sleep sack.
My sleep sack. Yeah, I was wearing my sleep sack. And so that just wicked up all the moisture. So now I was soaking wet with sawdust all over myself.
Yeah.
But the spittoon did stay nice and vertical. So there's little victory. But anyways, then I had to go get changed.
Yeah. And what hurts?
Nothing. Everything feels good.
Really?
Yep.
Did you just land on your bottom?
My right hip and my right arm elbow.
That sounds like that hurt.
It was really fine. It was nice.
Don't say it was nice.
It was. That's like as good as it could go.
Okay.
I should have heard something.
Yeah.
I went from standing 6'3" to 0-0.
Like, ow, even that hurt what I just did.
When you bumped into the couch with your
on
elbow?
Purpose, yeah.
Okay. Well, then I'm really grateful you didn't fall. Because I think it would have really hurt you. But anyways.
I would have cried for sure if all those people were there.
Well.
Were you embarrassed?
I wasn't. Because it was funny. The fact that it looked like I had recovered.
Yeah.
And so I immediately start laughing as I do.
Yeah.
And I go, oh my God, I really thought I had saved it. And Brian's like, oh my God, I really thought you had it too.
Yeah.
Like we were all kind of just astounded how like this crazy recovery had happened. And then out of nowhere, banana peel, pratfall.
Yeah.
Soiled onesie, sleeper, sleep sack.
Yeah.
Anyways, the only thing I think is like, oh God, I hope he doesn't feel bad for me because I don't feel bad.
Yeah.
I think there's
Layered.
different masculine dynamics that happen that you don't feel or experience.
Okay. Like what?
Well, just like there's a lot of woman to woman stuff I'm going to miss out on. I'm not going to have my cycle synced. I'm not going to have, there's going to be like some emotional things I really probably won't be able to experience the way two good girlfriends can.
Yeah. Oh, it was Callie's birthday yesterday. Shout out, ding, ding, ding.
Oh, yes. And this is insane. I bet there's an evolutionary basis. What is a popular saying, which is insane, is men's worst fear is being humiliated or embarrassed.
Exactly.
And a woman's worst fear is being killed by a man.
Yeah, I think that's Margaret Atwood.
Okay. Good job, Atwood. So there's a major truth to that. I would be curious because I think that just chalks up men to being vain in a way that I think is a very incomplete explanation of that. I think there's probably something more about whatever that hunting circle was all about and embarrassing yourself there had to be life or death. I don't know. Point is, it's real. Men get very nervous when another man has embarrassed himself in front of them. Mm-hmm. I think it's a very unique feeling.
I don't think that's just men. I think that there's some like kind of weird mirror neuron thing that happens when people are around embarrassment.
There's that for sure. But there is a gender layer that's happening.
Okay.
And I think because it's acknowledged whether you could articulate it or not, that an embarrassed man is very dangerous.
Because they're clumsy?
Well, no, because we just established man's worst fear is being embarrassed.
Right.
So we know that when that happens to a man, when he's embarrassed, that potentially there's something crazy's coming next or something.
Because they're in defense mode or something?
Yeah, or just if we're agreeing that their biggest fear is this, when you witness someone experience their biggest fear, I think there's a bizarre panic among all the other dudes. Like, oh God, is he going to be embarrassed? Is he going to, what you want is for him to get up and laugh at himself.
Right.
In any group of boys, when someone tries something and they fuck up, if he gets up and he's angry, everyone I think has an instinctual reaction to just kind of look down and ignore what happened. You're like, okay, I don't want to accentuate this by acknowledging I witnessed this because he's mad and embarrassed.
Yeah.
When I see a woman fall down, that's not the sensation. The sensation is like, oh, I want to nurture her or help her or offer some help. And when a man falls down, it's like, first thought is like, okay, how's he going to take this? So I know what to do. Is that what I'm saying, Rob?
Yeah, that checks out. I think it's when you witness a woman doing something embarrassing, it's different to a guy than
a man doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's maybe easier to have empathy for a man. You put yourself in his shoes a little easier, or imagine if that had happened to you.
Yeah, you can feel what their embarrassment feels like.
Yeah.
I think maybe easier. I don't know. I just think something's interesting about it. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a social scientist out there who's done some work on this and can DM me.
I think for women, it's across the board the same. It just depends on your personality. It's like if you're around anyone who slips and falls and then is embarrassed and needs nurturing, you're going to provide it. If they need to be ignored, you're also going to do that. But it doesn't depend. Like if I was around you, if I was there and you fell, I wouldn't be like, oh, I can't pay attention. Like I'd be like, oh my God, are you okay?
Right. That's actually my exact point, is that I think you are free as a woman to do that immediately
but if
with me.
It's that you will act dangerous, you'd still be dangerous around me.
Yeah, I think I think you just illustrated exactly what I'm saying. You would have no barrier to just be nurturing to me immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's no barrier for me to be nurturing to a woman who falls.
Right.
With a man, I instinctively know, let's see how this plays out for a second before I pick my thing. The stakes are high.
But let's take Delta.
Yeah.
If she does something, you're going to take a second to see what she needs. You're not going to immediately run over because she might be angry.
That's very true.
So it's kind of, maybe just men are more angry and you have to be careful.
Well, no, I think it's interesting. We agree on that statement.
We agreed on multiple statements.
Yeah, we agree on that a man's worst fear is embarrassment.
Yes.
And that's not women's worst fear.
Depends. We are like painting with such a broad brush, but you're saying,
that's what
you're saying historically or maybe like evolutionarily.
Yeah, I just think if we agree on the fact that that's man's worst fear, it creates a different dynamic when you're witnessing someone experience their worst fear. Just like if you're witnessing a woman get killed, which is her worst fear, those are different things.
Right.
I'm not doing a good job explaining what I'm saying.
Anyway.
Yeah. Onward and upward.
All right. Well, this is for Letterman. So that's exciting. This was the best day of your life, or the best day in this attic for you, probably.
It was my favorite, probably 2 hours in the attic. Yeah, with a guest.
Yeah.
Oh, it was very, very special.
Yeah, tell us
and
about...
I had done a lot of work leading up to that day.
Yeah.
Starting a week before. I mean, we know that day is coming for 3 weeks. So it's in the back of my mind as it approaches. I'm both excited, but also it's for me, the Super Bowl. It's like, this is the one crack I get at this experience interviewing him, my hero.
Yeah.
So it's looming on Friday before. For the first time ever, I don't know why this hasn't occurred to me. I've never talked about work in therapy. Like I don't bring work-related thoughts too often. They're mostly just all my interpersonal issues.
Yes.
Now, they may involve people at work, but just I've never been like, I have a big proposal coming up and it gives me anxiety and I don't know what to do. So this was my first experience with it. And I was very, very grateful I did that because he gave me lots of wonderful perspective. But I really just had the singular goal of going in and not trying to impress him that I'm smart or great at this or anything. I just was hoping to just exist with him and have a conversation with him without any agenda to get his approval.
Yeah.
Which takes a lot of work for me, embarrassingly. I can't.
Yeah.
That's not my natural disposition.
Right.
Yeah.
I think you achieved it.
Well,
Do you?
yeah. I felt
Good.
very calm the whole time. And that thing I had brought up to him in the interview, which is like, do you find you have a different interviewing style with men and women, was this thing that had occurred to me. And so really I went in with the goal of that, interviewing them as if he was a woman. And I feel like I got close to that
Yeah. Yeah.
in my heart.
And then after, were you on cloud 9? How was the rest of the day?
No one will like this,
Okay.
but I'm going to choose to be honest.
Do it.
It fucked me up. It like for the 8 hours afterward, it really fucked me up in that I had tried really hard. I had prepared, like emotionally prepared for a week to do it. I did it. It was everything I'd hoped it'd be.
Yeah.
So I guess I'd use the Stutz thing. The photograph was a dangerous thing. It was like once that happened and he left and I felt relieved, I was like, where's the elation? What's next? What reward do I deserve?
Yeah.
How do I celebrate? The addict in me was like, okay, but where's the euphoria? Where's the elevated? And there isn't. Like you do a good job and that's that. And that's
I
great.
mean, it felt to me like right after it seemed like you were.
Yeah, I just
You just want that sustained.
Yeah, I ended up sharing about it immediately in a meeting, which is it just starts the monkey brain. It's like, okay, I'm not doing so bad. That's great. I did the thing. What do I get? What can I do? What thing can I do? What can I eat? What sensation can I give myself to punctuate this, to make it official?
Totally.
Go out and cheers glasses and get drunk like that. I have so much muscle memory of that.
Yeah.
And in early sobriety, what I would do, because I think people do need to celebrate to process it somehow, right? I think that's why people celebrate. So
Yeah.
in the old days when I would sell a screenplay, right, that would be a big event for me. I'd pitch all these studios. And if I sold one, I would go, oh, I'm allowed to eat like 2 whole pizzas tonight. So I would celebrate by having a food orgy.
Right.
But even that's off the table now. I can't. My celebration can't be 2 whole pizzas and then fucking my bones hurt for 5 days and my skin peels off. Like, and so I'm down to really
just the moment.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. It's embarrassing to admit that I am a machine of more. I'm a greedy little pig of like people will say in AA, which I like, is my drug of choice is more.
Yeah, for sure.
And my drug of choice is definitely more.
Yeah. I think it's a scale though, for sure, because, which is sort of a ding on this episode. We talk about that a little bit, but because everyone has that. I mean, maybe not everyone, but everyone lands on the scale for that. I do think for addicts, it's on the extreme end, wanting to prolong that feeling forever and like live in it and feel good about yourself for a long time. And how do we get there? Yeah. And but most people, even I had that. I was like, oh, like what a great day. Like now
what?
Now what? I mean, I went and bought makeup that day.
Yeah,
but,
which was great.
Yeah, I mean, and pants. And
a cardigan.
And some other stuff.
And
shoes.
a bracelet.
No, but like I have that exact thing. And I'm like, how is the rest of the day gonna match this part of the day that was so good?
Yeah. And to be honest, part of my mental trick to be calm was that I really wasn't allowing myself to indulge in the notion that it was Letterman sitting here. Because that would have ruined that's actually what would have taken me off course.
Yeah.
Like my therapist was just like, in the simplest way, he said, imagine how different the dynamic would be if you and I switched chairs right now. If you sat in the doctor's chair.
Okay.
And I sat in that chair.
Yeah.
And when I think of that, that's really dramatic. The whole thing unravels a little bit.
Oh.
Like the doctor, the relationship's established. I'm coming to you.
Yeah.
You're, quote, the expert.
Yes.
And I trust you and you're going to guide me.
Right.
And that's what that chair says. And he said, you don't need to be in a hurry and you don't need to panic because you're sitting in the chair.
Right.
Remember what chair you're sitting in.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
Which was a really cool, helpful mantra, which is like, the chair's doing all the work. I don't have to control it. I don't have to steer it.
Yeah, I think that's great. So
my mental exercises leading up to it were to not go, oh, Dave Letterman's coming. It's the opposite. It's like a guest is coming and I sit in that chair and I do this thing that I do 4 days a week. Now I can do it.
Yeah.
And so I actually didn't experience it while we were doing it because I don't think it would have worked if I was allowing myself to truly. So then it's over and now I want to experience the thing that I purposely avoided so that I wasn't a fucking goof.
Right.
In a nutshell, it just what it led to is like 8 hours of craving, which is not what I was expecting. Right? It's not like I expect to execute a plan I've been working really hard at. It goes as planned.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I'm like in a spiral of craving.
Right.
And no, look, I shared about it in a meeting that night. Yeah. I went to sleep. I woke up and the next day I was completely fine. But it was a curious outcome to the whole thing.
Yeah. I bet a lot of that's very relatable.
I don't think it's crazy uncommon. Yeah.
No,
it's almost what Jenna Ortega was saying. It's like, yes, the fantasy is look at all this opportunity I have and how good I'm doing. Everyone's so excited for me, but I can't really match that excitement. I'm not experiencing that excitement.
Right.
You have dreams and you pursue them. And of course, in your mind, you think on the backside of accomplishing a dream is elation. Like I have this notion of the guy getting the gold medal. Yeah. And crying, that's like,
yeah.
But in my life, I haven't experienced hitting my goals with that kind of medal ceremony experience, which is totally fine. It's a slow roll. So now like I'm letting little threads come in and it is a lovely thing now in my head.
Mm-hmm. I think it's just a misunderstanding. There is no elation. Even the person getting the gold medal, the crying, the moment is about the intensity of this process being over. And that you want, winning of course feels good, but there's a relief in there too. There's so much happening in that moment. It's not a pure elation.
Right. And so when you won the state championships.
Yeah, of course, that's what I'm thinking of.
You weren't elated.
When I broke down in a way that I've never behaved since or after, it was not of happiness. Yeah. It was relief.
Yeah, all the tension you were carrying to perform well.
Now that moment's gone and it happened the way I wanted it to happen and I can breathe normally now.
Yeah.
So it is not happiness necessarily that's achieved.
There's a biological component to this, which is interesting, which is dopamine is predominantly the chemical that gives us that sense of elation. Mm-hmm. And dopamine's released when basically the unexpected happens.
Right, exactly.
Right? It's like telling you to venture to look for new berries because they're gone where you're at and you venture out. And then when you see the new berries, it's unexpected and you get the dopamine hit.
Yeah.
So that's what's weird about fantasies is you actually enter them with an expectation.
Yeah.
My happiest moments in life are generally I go to stop by someone's house. I was just going to pick something up. We start chatting. It's this great chat and we're shooting baskets and that becomes really fun. It's actually when my expectations are nothing fun's going to happen. Then all of a sudden I'm having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then I just think coupled with that Stutz thing, it's just you make these little photographs in your head of what, perfect anything would be.
Yeah.
And then there's no life in the photograph. There's no movement.
Right.
It's just, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I do think that's...
No, so I just want to be clear. Not sad. Just it was an interesting, unexpected 8 hours of craving.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder. Well, a lot of people have crashes after big events because, you're on a high and then you crash. So,
then you crash right on the plywood. Oh, another fun thing. Some of my favorite moments were out of the attic, which is we went and looked at my cars for a minute.
Okay.
Because Dave has that crazy Volvo with a Mustang V8 in it that Paul Newman made him buy. Mm-hmm. And so I too have a stupid station wagon with an outrageous engine in it. And so we went over and looked at the Roadmaster for a little while.
Nice.
And he was vibing it big time.
Cool.
Yeah, I liked that part.
That's exciting. One thing in the beginning of the episode, it's a little muffled, but they tell a story about they just come from the Grove to get shoes. And Craig Ferguson was at the Grove. You kind of can't hear the Craig Ferguson. You can hear something, but I don't know if you can make it out that well. So just wanted to reiterate that he was also at the Grove at the same time.
So funny.
I know.
And then my joke was, what if Kimmel had rung them up?
Yes, exactly. For me, the experience was really cool. It's always, when we get to have legends in here, it's very special. And he, he'll always be regarded as a comedy god. So there's just immediate reverence. But I didn't grow up watching him every night. But when he was sitting here, I was like, oh my God, he's so funny. He's so funny. Duh, he's so funny. He's like the biggest comedy guy of all time. But for some reason, of course, I don't associate that, which is so stupid of me. He's just so fast and quick and connected. And there's just no question. It's like, of course he's the guy.
Yeah. But you're 12 years younger than me. It is a significant piece of that whole, like you missed.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think it's very natural that for you start becoming aware of him. He's already 60 years old and he's already on his 20th year of television. And, for me, it was seeing him in the Late Show starting at 12:30 after Carson.
Right.
Doing what basically Tim and Eric do on TV now. Like completely different
That's crazy.
take on a late night talk show.
Yeah.
And very progressive and alternative and punk rock.
Yeah.
And
he changed the game.
Totally. And then I think like Stern, as the success built and he took over the 11:30 time slot, either he started playing it safer or just he had already paved the new way and now he was, but you didn't enter at the time where it was like a new band on the scene.
Yes. But he's so good and it made total sense just being around him. Like, you're so special.
Right. I'm sure you could feel the quality of his comedy in person.
Yeah.
That is so absolutely fingerprint David Letterman.
Yeah.
And he's 75.
So cool.
I wonder if that's a late night thing, because I think the same thing happened with me with Jimmy Fallon, where I realized how funny he was when he came on here and how quick he was.
I feel like Letterman, especially now, like on his Netflix show, it feels serious in a lot of ways. So I haven't seen
He's
thing.
He's intrinsically offbeat like Bill Murray, like the Talking Heads, like
it feels
just
different.
Yes.
Like I guess that's all I can like it because I obviously love Jimmy. I love.
Oh, he's amazing.
These guys are amazing who are doing it now, but it's like, oh wait, no, this is a different beast.
He just existing is unique and interesting.
Yeah.
And you kind of want to be looking through his eyes to see what he's.
Yeah.
Even though before he went in and relieved all the workers for the day, the way he got out of the car and he just really took in his surroundings in this really specific, thoughtful way.
Yeah. Speaking of pacing, I think that he's so quick, but it feels like there's no rush. There's no I got to make a joke now. It's just very natural. Very, very cool. Okay. So the book on the Wright brothers, there's a few. I mean, it definitely isn't the McCullough one, as we noted. There's one by Fred C. Kelly, and then there's one by James Tobin.
Did he give us the title?
No, he just said there's this book, the definitive book on the Wright brothers. He said maybe Fred Winston, but there's no Fred Winston.
Okay. Morgan Freeman?
My guess is it's the James Tobin one.
Okay.
If not, I just gave a big shout out to James Tobin.
Some stuff we didn't talk about that I liked. There's so much we could have talked about with him, but pretty terrible student.
Oh.
Which I like.
Interesting.
Yeah. He was not a good student. In fact, he went to school in Muncie, Indiana. I think that's Indiana State. And he set up an endowment for C students.
He did.
He did. He's like, no one's getting a scholarship for having C's. And look at me, I had all C's.
Wow.
I could have used some. Yeah, so he had an endowment
for like high school students
C
going.
students, yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that great?
That's kind of great.
I love it. Everyone's like, everyone wants to take care of the A student. But it's like, what about the C student?
Okay. Yeah. There's also a reason.
Well, there's lots of reasons. Could be a learning disability. He's clearly brilliant, and he's clearly got a ton of work ethic.
No, I'm saying there's a reason people invest in the A student because the A student is showing that they care.
Yes, they're there. Yes.
So to then reward not caring feels a little, but then there's so many factors.
Right.
So yes, I totally agree.
Yeah.
That's really
I
funny.
think it's just funny. I think it's part of our capitalist architecture of our brain, which is like, I think we would go, well, everyone probably deserves help.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
I mean, then we would agree that anyone who needs help that could get it, we would probably be supportive of that.
Yes.
But then, of course, we triage it and we prioritize.
Yeah, that's so
it just
funny.
funnels into who's an overachiever. They should get.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wowie wow.
He's also very charming, right?
So charming.
Yes.
So charming.
That's that other thing he and Bill Murray have is like, they're not making people's sexiest person alive. But I think anyone around them would just be so attracted to them. It'd be uncanny.
Yeah. I mean, you want his approval immediately.
And he's just so playful.
Yeah, and he's very connected. Like he looks at you, he addresses you. Oh, we got to tell David about. He accidentally listened to the bear episode.
Oh my God! And thought we had a bear expert on, and it was this Kiwi.
Oh, so funny! Oh my God. Anyway, a very special day.
One more behind the scenes thing that helped me tremendously is when we were talking at the cars a couple times. He's like, "Oh, we gotta stop talking. Let's save this." And then he said it to you.
We were in here. Yeah. He said, let's wait till we're on mic or something.
Yes. And he had said that like 4 times throughout. Anytime we actually just be connecting downstairs and telling some stories. And I interpreted that as he still cares.
Yeah.
He wants this to be good. You don't know when you're getting someone as successful as him if he's going to care anymore. And it was obvious he just cared a ton.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is so comforting. This makes me like go immediately from a 10 down to a 2 of anxiety.
That's great.
Yeah.
Glad we got to do it. Really glad.
Any
really
personal
happy
stuff?
for you.
Anything from therapy you want to talk about?
No.
Okay.
Keep that to myself.
Okay. Anything from washing your hair? Anything fall out?
My hair's falling out. Yeah.
Oh, it is.
It's thinning, I think. Yeah. My vitamins are helping. Oh, I mean, I guess update. I feel good on the vitamin now.
Okay.
I actually
You got through it.
love it.
Oh, you love it.
I think it's helping.
Got
me a
drugs
lot.
in?
I don't know, but I think it's helping with a lot of things.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So I've come around.
Okay.
It just, there was I had to get through a hard stretch,
An adjustment
an
phase.
adjustment period. But I'm past that and I'm happy. David.
Oh, the bear expert's here.
Oh my God.
David,
David, we have some news for you.
you'll like this story. Why don't you sit at a mic for a second?
Hello.
Letterman was on last week.
I love Letterman.
He's the number one
He's
greatest
big.
of all time.
We have him in New Zealand.
Yeah. So he, when deciding to do some homework for our show, went to listen to it, but he didn't go to Spotify, right? So he went to Apple Cat or whatever. Well, I don't even know what one he went to.
Yeah.
But he saw, oh, great. There's an episode with a bear expert. So he fully listened to the show thinking, where's Dax? And why does this bear expert not know anything about bears?
So funny. He was like, you were on the show, but he wasn't. It was somebody else. And they didn't know anything about bears.
It's really good. Stumbling on Flight the Spirit would be the nightmare for a guest trying to study your show. Very
Well,
different shows.
I'm sure they'd enjoy it. They just would be
yeah.
very confused where I was. And then, of course, that there was a bear expert from a country with no bears.
Did he learn anything about bears? Or did you just seem
No.
puzzled?
He said mainly he was just confused.
Massively confused by the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's really good. Well, David Letterman's listened to the podcast.
That's
that,
what I
that feels so good.
Yeah, he's listened to more episodes of your show than ours.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
He didn't love it, but he listened.
Hi. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up
Okay,
here.
we're going to wrap it up. It's turning into a party.
We have a party.
I love you. Love you, David.
Love you guys. Love David Letterman
And David Ferrier.
and David Ferrier. And also,
David.
I'm proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
You
my-
did a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
As I said, I'm just going to compare it to one other thing. You know, my dad died,
Whoa.
and I
David
Didn't-
looks so uncomfortable when you just
and
said
David
that.
Ferrier killed him because my father was following his advice on a camping trip about interacting with large bears, carnivores.
Squirrels.
Yeah, Kodiaks, I believe. No, but he died, and then it wasn't till 4 months later when I wrote about him that I had my actual first human feeling about it.
Yeah.
And then now, 10 years after the fact, I'm having the most amount of dreams about him and the most amount of feelings about him.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know why that's how I am. But this thing for me is already that, where it's like today I feel more sweetness about it than I was
You
able
can
to.
feel it in your body a
It's
little
like
more.
seeping in
Yeah.
of, that really happened. I have this panic if I acknowledge it happened, it'll go away. Right?
Right.
You have that?
I understand.
Yeah.
But that's not how life works or
I
brains
know
work.
it takes a while for it to have not been taken away before I can start enjoying it. So I think that's where we're
We're
at.
getting there.
We're getting there. We're inching closer and closer.
Love it. All
What's your-
right.
Do you have a sign off, David? Do you want to?
I want to try saying, it doesn't come naturally, but I love you guys.
Oh my God. I
Yeah. I wish you could.
never in my life would I
Wish
have
you
expected
guys could have seen how unnatural his face looked as he was delivering that. If you can remember Chevy Chase in Christmas Vacation when he's got the piece of chicken in his mouth or turkey and he's chewing it really interesting.
Oh my God.
That's good. It's good. It's good.
Oh, my glasses are fogging up.
Oh, so much is happening.
Full system meltdown. She said, "I love you."
Oh my God.
Well, I love you, David, and you're cute and you're intelligent and you're a hard
You have
worker.
a great haircut.
Yeah, and a good frame too.
Thank you.
Really nice frame. All right,
All
love
right.
you guys.
Bye.